Alright, guys, so with the announcement of the RWBY DC Universe crossover coming next coming in the next few months, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a follow up with that of talking about like RWBY crossovers I would like to see in future comics. Now, for preference, I am going to stick to the parameters of what could be plausible. I'm not going to say like RWBY crossing over with this anime or that one. And I'm going by comics. I'm going by generally comics and comics that we could see and titles we could actually see them crossing over in some capacity. Although there is one I will say that will probably be it that could work, even though it doesn't have a comic of its own. It does, however, it has crossed over with other titles in the past. So, there is that. Therein lies the major point. You probably know what I'm talking about in a moment. But yeah, I'm not going to include anyone from Marvel. I'm not, because they're because RWBY comics are under DC, and we all know how that goes. I'm not going to mention anything that doesn't have like a title under it. Like, I'm not going to do like an anime or whatever, though theoretically that could happen in some capacity. Just not realistically. The chances of that are very low. So yeah. Anyway, let's get started with our first crossover I would love to see with RWBY. I would absolutely love to see them cross over with Power Rangers, first and foremost. I would love to see DC and Boom Studios get together for a RWBY Power Rangers crossover. You clearly see a lot of, like, Power Ranger... a lot of Power Ranger inspiration that Monty had for this show. So I think it'd be really cool to have, like, a Power Ranger crossover. And definitely, just for the sake of having Rita Repulsa and Salem meet, that would be a lot of fun. I would have... And also Jason, my friend Jason, would probably just die of a love-induced heart attack of just, like... And I'd be standing over there like, clear! So, RWBY and Power Rangers would be a lot of fun. I wouldn't say, like, not so much like I want to see, like, a RWBY universe version of the Power Rangers like the Justice League crossover was. I kind of want to just see, like, a mixed universe. I would love to even see, like, there's so much you can do with this crossover. Like, first and foremost, Finster making monsters out of Grimm. Like, that would be so cool to see, like, what Finster could do with Grimm monsters. I would love to see Goldar fight RWBY or Crow. That would be really fun. I would love, like I said, the collaboration between Rita and Salem would be really cool, or Rita and Zed with Salem, because we haven't. That's the thing. We haven't really gotten. We've had Zed in crossovers, and we've had Rita in several crossovers, but we've never had Rita and Zed together crossing over someone. Though I would be fine with either Rita or Zed, or Rita and Zed meeting Salem. But anyway, I would love to see also the. Of course, you'd have to do this in the crossover because God knows Ninja Turtles had to do it. Was do a crossover, do the scene where like the RWBY they become the RWBY Rangers, and RWBY just goes, "It's morphin' time," and that would just be it. Like the whole that's a whole toy line Hasbro could play with. Could you just imagine let's just park real quick and talk about like how much toy revenue and merchandise revenue they could get. I mean, have you seen the numbers they have for the figures and whatnot they got for the the Ninja Turtle Power Ranger crossover? If you did that with RWBY, people would go off the fucking chain for these figures. Like, they would go off the fucking... They would go out of... it would just be bonanzas. It would just be just total bananas for just a RWBY Power Rangers merchandise alone. That would be amazing. So RWBY and Power Rangers would be just, like, that's the first one I would pick. Following that is another crossover with IDW where we go to the Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles are no strangers to cross-universe expeditions and whatnot, and it would be kind of fun if we brought the team of RWBY to New York, and you could definitely have, like, the Technodrome. Like, Krang was the one who brought them here. Maybe he's teaming up with Salem or Cinder or someone of that nature. And I would really love to see, like, Grimm... could you just, like, imagine, like, Grimm with Mutagen? Like, that would be so cool of seeing, like, Mutagen-empowered Grimm or Mutagen-empowered, like, Neo or Cinder or something like that. just to like amp them up. That would be so cool. Plus the Ninja Turtles with RWBY. I mean, there's so much you can do with that. Like you could have RWBY hang out with Leo. You could have Blake and White. I mean, yeah, you could have White. No, actually, let me take that back. It'd be RWBY and Mikey hanging out. It would be Leo and Blake hanging out. It would be Donnie and Weiss hanging out, and Raph and Yang. Because of course, and also, if I was to write this crossover, the two that would be starting shit are gonna be Raph and Yang. Because of course, it would be Raphael and Yang who would start shit between the two teams. I would love to see like Crow meet Master Splinter. I would love to see like Shredder, and actually, I think this would be more cool if you didn't have Salem here. But instead, you use Cinder and have her work with Shredder, and them using the Technodrome. That would be kind of cool. That would be pretty cool. I would even say, like, you know, maybe even have, like, some other villains in here, like the Triceratons or something. Yeah, but just think on that alone. RWBY, Grimm-empowered, mutagen-empowered Grimm. And also, could you imagine Bebop and Rocksteady get their weapons upgraded into like new kinds of guns? That would be the other thing. Like, I would love to see a scene where the Turtles get their weapons upgraded by technology from Remnant and just go balls out with it. Plus, the Fugitoid and Penny meeting. That's all I did say. Fugitoid meets Penny. It'd be the same thing of like having Penny meet Alpha 5. That would be adorable. Like going back to the Power Rangers one, the idea of just Alpha 5, befriending Penny would be awesome. And the same with her befriending Fugitoid would be pretty great too. Now we move on to a crossover that, while it doesn't really have a comic book series, it has been crossing over with Marvel and DC. And that's Fortnite. Fortnite, while it doesn't have comics of its own, it has crossed over with the DC universe and the Marvel universe in comics. Obviously, with the Batman Fortnite crossover, and recently the Fortnite crossover with the Marvel universe that I think just came out in trade, or is going to come out in trade this week. So that would be really cool. I'm not a big Fortnite guy, but I have said in the past that like RWBY works so well in the world of Fortnite. Like, it kind of really does make sense, game-wise, to bring them in. And even in a comic, like, going back to comics, like, yeah, you could do the Fortnite RWBY as a crossover comic, too. Like, they have the weapons, they have the skills, and also, I could definitely see the world of Remnant being sucked up into the world of Fortnite. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'm not a big Fortnite person. My girlfriend is, and she's filling me in on all the lore and whatnot. But yeah, as I watch it, I'm like, yeah, I could see, RWBY and Fortnite crossing over. I think that could definitely work. Now we move on to another that could happen, but we don't know where it's going to happen. And I'm talking about RWBY and Transformers. RWBY and Transformers would be really cool, but as you guys know, Transformers is leaving IDW very soon. Like, they are I think at the end of the year they're out. So that's the thing, is that they are like RWBY and Transformers would be another great one to see, like maybe like Autobot and Decepticon versions of various vehicles from Remnant. That'd be really cool. I would even love to see like Unicron meeting the Dark Gods, or Megatron working with Salem. It's just like RWBY and Transformers would just like, there's so many story ideas for that. As for another, this is another one with IDW, and while it's a little unlikely because I don't know what you could do with the story, it would be so much fun to see because it's such a juxtaposition between the two. And then again, we have had juxtaposition between this series crossing over with something else, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is Star Trek. Star Trek RWBY, and you're already thinking, really? Star Trek and RWBY crossing over? What the fuck, man? May I point out that we've had 3 crossovers between Star Trek and X-Men. Yeah. We've had Star Trek and X-Men crossover multiple times, like 3 times. So don't even give me that. If X-Men can cross over with Star Trek, or Well, Planet of the Apes makes sense. Transformers was a stretch, but it was fun. So the idea of having them cross over, Star Trek and RWBY crossing over, while would be a wild juxtaposition, it'd be still a lot of fun because there's so much you could do with it, depending on what series you use. For real lulz, I'd go classic series of just the idea of like Kirk. Kirk on a world full of I guarantee you, if Kirk was if it was crossing over with Kirk era Star Trek, he'd be hitting on Winter and Glinda. I guarantee you, he'd be like, "Hey, ladies, I'm from another universe. The dick still works." Also, I would love to see like Spock interacting with like. Just for a fun scene of Spock interacting with Weiss's butler, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, it'd just be such a wild juxtaposition, and if it was TNG, even more. Plus, I think we'd all agree if seeing Worf and Yang fight would be a lot of fun, and having Q would probably be the one behind it all. But also, imagine if it was TNG, and while I think they're overplayed a lot in Star Trek crossovers, I would not be opposed to Borg versions of Grimm, like Grimm Borg hybrids, or like RWBY, or some of the characters being assimilated. Like, I would not mind a Borg invasion of Remnant. That would actually be kind of kick-ass. So there you go. Next up on the list, we have Godzilla. Godzilla, now that he's crossed over with Power Rangers, we're just kind of waiting for, like, okay, who's next on the list? Like, who is next on the list of crossovers for Godzilla? And RWBY would be really it. Godzilla would be a lot of fun of having, like, maybe Salem brings him to RWBY, or maybe Ghidorah, and they have to bring Godzilla to Remnant to fight him. And then you have, like, giant Titan-sized Grimm battling Godzilla, or having those giant mechs that we saw in one of the volumes battling Godzilla. There's a lot of story potential there, and again, like I said, now that the floodgates have opened with Godzilla versus Power Rangers, it's only a matter of time before we see some crossover with something else, and RWBY is probably on that list. I know a lot of IDW ones, but DC and IDW are really tight. DC and IDW are actually really tight. As for other crossovers, this is a little unlikely because of how little they work with each other, but I do think it's a possibility, is RWBY crossing over with Dynamite characters. I would personally love to see, like, there's Army of Darkness, obviously, RWBY, like, seeing Deadite Grimm or Deadite versions of characters. Like, maybe this could be a way to, like, resurrect characters, but they're, like, Deadite zombie versions of them. Like, could you imagine, like, Deadite Pyrrha? That'd be horrifying. So Ash in the world of RWBY would be in the world of Remnant would be a lot of fun. I also think that but they're not as big. These characters aren't as big as RWBY, but I think it really would work. And Dynamite crosses them with everybody. Is either Vampirella or Red Sonja. Or Red Sonja and Vampirella. You could have both in there and have them cross over with RWBY. You know, badass women meeting badass women. And Vampirella and RWBY are everywhere. Plus, Mars Attacks RWBY. I'm just saying, guys, Mars Attacks RWBY would be oodles of fun. And as for another one that would just be ridiculous, just utter ridiculousness, but totally fun, would be Archie meets RWBY. Guys, you would read that comic on the sole ground of, I have to see how this insanity goes. Like, that's it. Like, just Archie meets RWBY. Because, yeah, we've had some really good Archie crossovers. And could you just imagine Betty and Veronica having, like... Actually, this is the one where I'd be like, yeah, let's have Riverdale in the world of, like, the art... Like, it would be a total shit show, but a shit show you want to see. Because, like, this, you could have, like, Riverdale's a village in Remnant, and... This would be like the Justice League crossover where it's like the RWBY versions of these characters. So could you just imagine like Archie and all those motherfuckers being like characters? What would their semblances be? That'd be insane. Anyway, So there you go, guys. That's just a few ideas. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what crossovers would you like to see with RWBY? Just comment below, let me know. As always, if you haven't already, hit the link below, head on over to Patreon, where if you hit the 4th tier, you can send me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. But other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in Multiverse.